Uh, for this month's roundup vlog, the month of July, not this actual current month of August, we're changing up the backdrop a little bit, the set piece, and you're getting me while I'm eating some lunch. Deal. So, I actually ran into a bit of a snafu. Um, might have mentioned this in a previous vlog. I'm pretty sure I did at least after it happened, but when I built this computer, I used all new parts with one exception, the hard drives. Now, I had two SSDs from a project I stopped working on related to my data hoarding hobby, but they were only 500 gigabytes a piece, two internal SSDs specifically. So, I took, and I needed more, and I wanted more internal space than just that. So, I made one of those SSDs my boot drive and harvested the hard drives out of two old computers. Now, if I remember correctly, one of the two HDDs I used came from my previous gaming rig, which was made using out of date parts to be cheaper. So I would could to spend, so I could spend less money doing it and have a smaller because I didn't have a big budget to work with. And the hard drive I repurposed in that computer that I took out of that computer and repurposed in this one, in turn, came from an old HP Compact pre-build. Um, that had if you don't know what that is, what those are like, it has no PSU. It uses a motherboard mounted graphics chipset and a motherboard mounted CPU. And literally, if you open it up, it has two primary components. Well, three if you count the disk drive, the hard drive, and the motherboard, which you directly connect the power to run the computer. So, like, those are the only two components, and the motherboard finally went kaput after several years of service. So I took the 1 terabyte internal HDD out of that, put it in the new gaming rig I built at the time out of old parts, and then when I finally made this gaming rig out of actual new parts a few years ago, I then further repurposed the hard drive from that. The second hard drive or HDD I repurposed, was from an all-in-one PC I bought for cheap off of a friend of the family, which was finally dying on me. Literally couldn't even maintain power anymore. So I opened that sucker up before getting rid of it and took the essential stuff out of it, including the hard drive. Some few months back, one of these drives, I would dare wager the older of the two, died, and I had to replace it. Well, I had a spare 500 gigabyte SSD from my project I stopped working on, so and I had three hard drives: the boot drive, the internal game drive, and the internal media drive. The one that died was being used as the internal media drive, so I switched it up. I downsized the game drive from a 1 terabyte HDD to a 500 gigabyte SSD, and then I repurposed the old game drive as the new media drive. And I'm glad I did this. I did this as a precautionary measure, thinking, well, if this one's also on its way out in the near future, because it's roughly around as old, I think, as the first one that died, then yeah, I would like to not have that be where I put my fucking video games. I also explicitly was installing video games on the boot drive, which didn't have much space to begin with, to spare for that kind of shit, because it was the only SSD, so having an SSD as my internal game drive has worked out wonderfully. Well, just at the tail end of last month, that second HDD finally croaked on me. I didn't really. Now, the first hard drive that died on me, internal that died, I actually did lose something I can't get back without shelling money out to buy it again. Um, yeah. But It was something pretty minor too, not a big deal. But this time I didn't lose shit. In fact, I almost lost something, but I had this sudden urge, this sudden foresight. probably I think literally a day before the hard drive, the day before I woke up, turned the computer on, and it wouldn't turn on, and I realized the hard drive was basically dead. Uh, the internal media, the old HDD I was using is the internal media drive. The day before that happened, I had this forethought to be like, you know what, I don't want to be lazy about it, and I rendered the Thief Simulator videos I made, the couple of them that I made. I'll upload the other one later today along with this, where I show off dismantling cars in this game, which is really in-depth and cool in its own way. Um, These are some good sausage patties. But I had the forethought to render them, and when I render videos, I would always record the raw footage to my internal media drive because it had more space. And you know that was one of the designated. One of the designated things that I used it for was recording my raw footage with OBS. So, but when I save the videos, render and save the final recording, I always save them directly to my downloads folder before moving them somewhere else first. Typically to a designated recordings folder, rendered videos folder on my media drive. Well, I did this and thankfully didn't move them yet before thinking I would just upload them first and then move them and then back them up to my external for preservation. But yeah, so I actually that would have been like the only thing I would have permanently lost because I would have had to redo those recordings and I would have been pissed. And hey, I'm glad it worked out as well as it did. It also worked out really well because the hard drive happened to die really close to payday. So I immediately set about ordering a 1 terabyte internal SSD and pulled a bunch of shit from my externals to that for including a bunch of what I call alt media, which is the YouTuber podcast stuff I like to collect from content creators I like, because I'm still trying to. A big part of my hobby is uploading this stuff to archive.org for preservation's sake. Anyway, moving right along. So it's been a bit turbulent, and things are going to get more turbulent. Outside of the technical aspects, like the hard drive shit, I don't really like talking about my personal life. So I'm just going to say things are going to get really rough for me soon. They already are mentally and emotionally, and they're going to get rough. Very, very likely going to get rough financially in the near future. I'm so glad this happened when it did, because in the near future I might not have the extra money. I might not be able to actually have the extra spending money I do now whenever I get paid. I might be dedicating it all to bills. But anyway. Because of this, and some other bullshit that I really wanted to talk about, we're talking about video games this month, not the fake ones. I'm gonna fully admit this. I bought the fake video game books like a couple months, 2 months ago at least, and I still haven't read all of them because I've been so busy with other shit in my free time. I've been so busy with other shit in my free time. I was going down this really weird rabbit hole watching VTuber reactions to Amazing Digital Circus for part of May and most of June. After Palworld 1.0 came out, I did nothing but play Palworld to the point that this game, which I actually started playing before 1.0 came out, ended up seeing a massive halt in me playing it until Palworld, until right as of like I think 3 days ago, as of today's date, the 5th of August. I had to double check. Yeah, 2 3 days ago, I was getting a little fatigued, didn't want to play it nonstop in my free time anymore, and actually started going back to this. And I've been making last few days of exploring the luxury houses DLC has been really fun. So, but yeah, the fake video game book stuff. I went through. I already went. I actually listened to a video completely going through Vermis One, but I've been going. I read it anyway. I also saw someone going through God Husk in a video. Um, I'm gonna reread that physically anyway, even though I already fully read as the digital book of it. I would like to read the physical book in my actual hands. I read through Vermis One. I'm on Vermis Two, almost done with that. I got Vermis Three. I read Final Fentanyl. Uh, After that, I have Super Eye Patch Wolf's Bizarre World of Fake Video Games, and I really am looking forward to reading that one. For the sake of my digital collection, I actually tried to find digital book files for some of these, and I found one for God Husk, Vermis 1, and Vermis 2, but I couldn't find one for Eye Patch Wolf's Bizarre World of Fake Video Games or Final Fentanyl. I guess they just. I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. I guess my best guess is they weren't popular enough for somebody to buy a copy and cannibalize it to upload a digital version online, a proper digitally readable version online. And at the very least, Final Fentanyl is absolutely not popular enough for somebody to do that because I have not found it, or it's just Google being Google. I might keep looking. And Vermis 3 just came out when I was looking for these, so obviously it wouldn't have one so soon. Whether I physically own them or not, I like digitally preserving things in my collection. But speaking of, there's actually a book, a fake video game book I really want to buy. That doesn't have a physical version yet. Oh god! But I would love to get a physical version for my shelf. I think it's called Apple Quest Monsters DX or something like that. I don't actually remember the exact title. It's like a bestiary of the monsters in this fake game, and it's really cool. Speaking of, I had other ideas. Things I wanted to buy. I want to buy a physical copy of House of Leaves because reading the actual book is going to be fascinating. But I also want to get some more Brandon Sanderson stuff. A specific cover of Yumi and a Nightmare Painter I really want. Oh, they're making new covers for Reckoners too. The Reckoners trilogy. Ah, that I really want to get because not only do the front covers look amazing, the spine of all three of them combines to form a picture if you have them in order on a shelf. It's really cool. It looks so sick. But my personal nerdy obsessions aside, let's talk about more of my personal nerdy obsessions. Ever since Powered 1.0 came out, actually, I'm going to go farther than that. When Powered released in early access 2 years ago, people were up in arms. This PAL looks like this Pokemon. This PAL has this Pokemon's tail shape. This PAL has this Pokemon's head crest. This PAL has this Pokemon's body proportions. Whatever the fuck people wanted to say. I dismissed them all as retards. But there was one I remember, and if you put a gun to my head and told me to find you the tweets, I would not be able to because it was 2 years ago and it's lost to the sea of ever flowing bullshit on Twitter nowadays. But there was this one guy who's even worse than who's even an even worse person than your average Nintendo shill, your average Nintendo. Because at least the Nintendrones don't belong to the cult of PETA. There was this one guy who was pushing that Palworld is copying Pokemon angle so hard, only to eventually reveal when things really weren't going their way after weeks of doing this, that they weren't actually a Nintendo or Pokemon fan. But they wanted to use the easiest thing they could to brigade against the game, the thing that would most likely work, because they don't want the game to succeed, because it has potential depictions of animal cruelty. Not kidding. I am not fucking joking. Turned out that one of the this is back when it first released in early access. By the way, like literally when it first released, for like the first month or two of its early access, they're one of the loudest fucking people about, oh, this pal looks like this Pokemon. Turned out to not even be a Pokemon or Nintendo fan. They were a fucking animal rights armchair slacktivist who didn't want the game to succeed because it depicts potential animal harm. And they were using the biggest gotcha they could to try and brigade against it. The Palworld hate was fucking weird, man. And it only got weirder. But I don't think anything ever got that weird. I don't think anything got as weird as the PETA guy. Now I'm gonna preface a few things. Alright? I'm a Pokemon fan. I've been a Pokemon fan since Gen 1 and Gen 2. My first game was Silver, my second game was Blue. After that it was Ruby, after that it was Leaf Green and Fire Red, after that it was Diamond, and after that it was Black. My most played game was Ruby, my second most played game was Silver. And my favorite Pokemon game of all time is still Silver because I love things that it did. I love the day-night cycle with visual differences. I love the fact that the latter half of the game is you going back to the first generation's region. You know, you start in Johto, then you go to Kanto for the second half of the game to fight souped-up versions, harder versions of Generation 1's gym bosses. The rival character makes a cameo appearance as the replacement for Giovanni in the last gym. And you have what is basically this game's equivalent of a super boss fight against the main character, the player character of the original Pokemon generation, in a dangerous area that intersects in between the two regions. And he's just hiding in a cave waiting for you to find him to have a big battle against his level 80, 90, 100 Pokemon. It's fucking cool. As a kid, I ate that shit up. I loved it. Next thing. All fandoms are shit. Yeah, I stand by what I just said. You know, I'll give you 3 fucking examples. SCP fandom. Now, when a friend introduced me to SCP back when we only had like the first 1,000 entries, yeah, sure. I loved it. I ate that shit up. I read article after article in succession, going in linear order. It got another about a year after I was introduced to it. It got its next 1,000 entries, and one of my favorite all-time SCPs is Ananta Shesha number 2000. It was fucking fantastic. It was a whole fictional world I was exploring with this shit. Then years down the line, I just randomly decide I'm too lazy to become part of the fandom. I don't want to put that energy into it. And that was a great decision because I found out years down the line, the fandom went to shit. It got infiltrated by the usual types of people. Suddenly it's more LGBT. Suddenly it's more trans, rights, more gay. The whole point of the SCP Wiki was to be this LARPing, this kind of LARPing thing for fun. and then they turn into like, nah, even this organization that literally experience, goes through heat deaths of universes and existential ending events and tries to protect our world, our universe, our very fucking reality from being destroyed on a daily basis. Even they got to put up the gay pride flag every fucking month in their insignia instead of it being the usual stark black and white that it always was. Fuck out of here. No, an organization like that wouldn't actually. That's like saying the Men in Black would focus more on trans rights than actually not letting aliens destroy the planet. You're fucking retarded. Second example, Deltarune and Undertale. Specifically Deltarune. I love these, and I love these, but you won't see me fillet them or say they're the best thing ever. In fact, something I feel like a lot of hardcore fans a lot of the hardcore fans miss about these games, that obsessed over it in a weird manner, is that Toby Fox himself has gone on record saying something along the lines of, "If you know me and the games that I like and take inspiration from, you would know I'm not a very creative person." There's a lot of stuff that Toby wears on his sleeves when it comes to Undertale. Oh, I'm sorry, when it comes to Undertale and Deltarune. Um, but without saying spoilers, people were bitching up a storm about the latest chapter of Deltarune. And I'm just like, nah, give me more art of these two characters, give me more art of these two characters, give me more art of all three of them together, give me more cool art. There's this one piece of Deltarune art I found. Again, without saying any spoilers, that's two particular characters side by side with their own motifs, their own entire like thing going on their own halves of the art of the piece of art, and it is a fantastic piece of art. It is fucking cool looking. It is so fucking cool looking. It's literally the kind of shit I would unironically call epic and say I would be proud to have this framed on my wall. This is a badass looking piece of art. That was a good lunch. Anyway, uh, point is, people were getting really upset over shit going on in the latest chapter. It's a video game. Don't get so fucking mad about it. Like there are times where I got to tell you, no, it's bullshit to say it's not that deep, but in this case, it's really not that deep. Your OTP being threatened is not going to be the end of your existence, my guy. And I can't say anything more than that. I feel like that already said too much. Third thing I want to mention, Amazing Digital Circus. Again, I went down a really fucked up rabbit hole watching VTubers reacting to it on my phone when I'm not at my desk, when I'm busy away from my computer, but for a good while. But I loved it. I loved that. It was a fantastic piece of animation. I also think it's probably going to be the best thing that Glitch ever fucking puts out. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I have a friend who liked Murder Drones more, even though he recognizes both of them are not the best thing ever. So I might be tempted to actually check Murder Drones out. I had zero interest in it until a friend of mine who is really into mecha stuff was like, "No, I kind of liked it more than Digital Circus." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you're a close enough friend of mine. That's all you had to say. I'm gonna check it out now just because you said that." So I still got to do that, but point being, um, as much as I love it, a lot of the fans are fucking freaks. So I'm gonna be a bit pedantic about this, okay? And we're gonna start with this. What actually, to my knowledge, what actually happened with this whole Jax's trans narrative, I kept seeing pushed, and I talked about it, I think, in a vlog, not the online discourse vlog, but the roundup I made at the monthly roundup I made after that. where I mentioned that in a server. I think I probably mentioned in it that in a server I mentioned, all I did was mention I didn't think Jax was trans. Full spoiler, you're gonna get some spoilers in this, by the way. I didn't think, and what I'm about to say, I didn't think Jax was trans, and I got like multiple people dogpiling me, like politely, not aggressively, saying, no, he is, and Gooseworks even said so. Well, what actually happened, to my understanding, is that the fan base decided that Jax was trans without any actual approval or confirmation from Gooseworks. And Gooseworks made a piece of art of Jax as trans, with the with the caption on the art piece, "Jax if he wasn't a huge piece of shit." Now, the thing is, this isn't even a nuanced take. Jax, the character in Amazing Digital Circus, is a huge piece of shit. He is. Whatever his reasons for being such are, he is a huge piece of shit. That is literally a fact. Not even some nuanced bullshit. That's a fact. He makes everyone miserable around him. The entire point of that piece of art was Gooseworks saying Jax, not just Jax if he was trans, but saying Jax if he wasn't a huge piece of shit, if he was trans and not a huge piece of shit to everybody, and therefore not a huge piece of shit to everybody. Insinuating that if Jax was trans, he wouldn't be a huge piece of shit. But he is a huge piece of shit, canonically, in the show. Yet people took this as confirmation and latched onto it, saying that this is proof that Jax is trans. Therefore, my completely appropriate, nuanced take on the Amazing Digital Circus's plot can literally be as follows. The transgender person is an enormous piece of shit to everybody around them, makes everyone's lives fucking miserable, bullies everybody, bullies two people into committing suicide, and then when they finally kick the bucket, everyone's lives dramatically fucking improve. There you go. You want to insist that Jax is trans? You got it. Jax is fucking trans from now until the end of time, because that is a take I can therefore have on the Amazing Digital Circus's plot, because you're basically admitting that he's trans and a piece of shit at the same time. When Gooseworks' original point was Jax if he wasn't a huge piece of shit. But reading comprehension is hard, I guess. Anyway, if it hasn't sunk in, yes, I think most if not all fandoms are fucking dog shit. They are full of freaks, weirdos, creeps, degenerates, not the kind that I am or like to hang out with, mind you. But, moving on from that, there is no fandom I've seen more cult-like than the fucking Nintendo fandom. Not even Pokemon specifically, just Nintendo in general. And here's the funny thing. I saw a lot of people bitching about Power World after the 1.0 release came out, but they were all doing one-off shit. They would post fuck Power World type of post on Twitter. And I just wanted to talk on Twitter about Power World, about the cool shit in Power World. I shared the bases I was making on Twitter. I showed some other stuff off. It was really nice and fun. I even talked to some people about Power World on Twitter. But in the process of this, I also encountered this very loud minority. And I don't think I've ever seen a louder minority than this, because it was literally 3 people. There were a lot of people making these one-off posts, but they'd make a generic fuck Power World kind of post once or twice and move on. Standard fare and all that. Except there were 3 people. Average Gamer N, Baztec, and Harmon Smith. Now, to go through the bullets real quick on this, Average Gamer N is a chronically online Nintendo dick rider who loves to paint the narrative that every fan of Power World is a shill while being a shill for Nintendo. When Splatoon Raiders came out, they literally switched up from doing nothing but nonstop crashing out over Power World just existing to filleting Splatoon Raiders as one of the best things to ever come to the Switch console and to the Switch handheld. And it's like, and mind you, not even just saying this stuff themselves. Average Gamer N, during the bit of time I gave them any attention, literally would find every single positive thing, just like they found every negative thing they could find people saying about Power World, every single positive thing they could find people saying about Splatoon Raiders, and retweet it. So, I mean, who's the shill? And he tried to say that this, and I'm sure he tries to say that this is different from the people, the PAL shills shilling Power World, and I'd say, oh, it is different because a lot of people discussing Power World outside of the admittedly retarded minority on that side of the aisle that are trying to act like it's a Pokemon killer when even the people that made the fucking game don't consider it a Pokemon killer. Outside of them, all the people, quote unquote, shilling Power World are really just trying to talk about it and have proper discussion, conversation about it. But we don't exist according to people like Average Gamer N. While he is doing everything, they're doing everything they fucking can to absolutely prop up and shill the shit out of Splatoon Raiders. Also, one thing I find weird, and this is just a little nitpick, but they have a Throne account on their Twitter, begging people online to buy them cheap Nintendo merchandise, like Legend of Zelda style Switch cases and shit like that. Like, my guy, don't you have a Switch 2 and a Switch 1 and all the latest first party games for both of them? Like, you mean tell me you're like one of Nintendo's biggest defenders, but you can't afford a case? You got to beg online for it? It's just a weird thing. Baztec is interesting, and here's where I got to admit something. I have a little penchant for something. I don't do this often. I used to be a prolific browser of this website, but I don't visit often nowadays, and I understand the problem both sides of the spectrum have. By this point, I didn't when I was younger, but now I do. But when I encounter particularly off individuals, in this case referring to Horon stuff, I tend to have a little bit of an inkling, a little bit of a thought in my head. Does this person have a Kiwi Farms page? So I went, since it's a publicly available website that's easily accessible, I decided to fucking check. And sure enough, he did. Now, we're not talking about him yet. We're on Baztec now. Baztec, I did find some people making comprehensive posts, not a thread on him, but comprehensive posts about him. And it was telling, and I did actually have some information of my own from a quick Google search to corroborate this information as true. When I searched Baztec on Google, I got a GameFAQs thread from back in 2013, and Baztec's way of typing there was no different than it is now on Twitter in the present year, 13 years later. Well, from what I saw on a couple of conference posts on Kiwi Farms, Baztec's problem wasn't even Nintendo related. It was FF15. Apparently this guy thought it was going to be the best game ever made. And he was so pissed when it wasn't that it upset him so much. Now, I don't use websites like these often, and I don't just mean Kiwi Farms, I also mean like 4chan. But apparently, this isn't just something that you would only find on Kiwi Farms. Apparently, there is chronicled, documented information on Baztec, specifically regarding 4chan. This dude apparently was one of the banes of the video game board on 4chan, to the point that you couldn't have a conversation on the V board without him coming in and shitting things up. He particularly apparently hated the guy initially behind FF15 who left because he would, I think his name was Nomura, because he would go on to work on Kingdom Hearts related stuff, and therefore he hated Kingdom Hearts in particular. You couldn't have a Kingdom Hearts thread. Back in the day, you apparently couldn't have a Kingdom Hearts thread on V without him showing up and trying to shit it up. This dude was obsessed and mentally deranged when it came to this stuff. It was bizarre going down this rabbit hole. Baztec in particular also had his own straw man that he was trying to clutch, to himself with dear life. He was obsessed with the Japanese sales of Power World. He made post after post after post bitching that Power World can be considered a failure, I guess, because it didn't sell well in its home country of Japan, and therefore it's not a good game. It's like that. You know what? I actually have an anecdote. I actually have a bit of an anecdote for that one. Ultimate Muscle. For those that don't remember, back in the day, we had a station called 4Kids TV, which bastardized the shit out of anime localization to the point of even editing the video, not just fucking with the dub, to basically not have blood, people being killed. It was very egregious in One Piece, where Oda has a tendency to kill off people in flashbacks as part of backstories. Instead, he would make it be like, oh, these people went far away, which I don't know how you're going to do that considering some of these flashbacks involve lots of people dying, not just one or two. But there's an interesting case with Kinnikuman, which is a popular thing in Japan. I think it's actually surged in popularity in Japan. But back then, when this shit was on 4Kids, it wasn't very popular in Japan at all. In fact, the Japanese did not like Kinnikuman in Japan. But us Westoids, us fine folk in the West, we ate it up because it was fun wrestling bullshit. It was a fun show with wrestling stuff involved. So a lot of youngsters over here, myself included, ate it the fuck up. To the point that they stopped actually dubbing it in Japanese, but they kept producing the show. There is, and I mean this like literally, there is not an existing completed version of that Kinnikuman anime in Japanese because they stopped working on it. But they, at least in Japan, for the Japanese dub and for the Japanese airings. But they kept working on it because it was such a hit in America. So they kept working on it expressly for the English dub, the shit that you would see on 4Kids TV. And it was so fucking good. It was a hit over here. People loved it. So, like, calling something a failure as a product because it's not successful in its home country is kind of a fucking straw man itself. That's the fact that I'm pretty sure from what I looked into, that was also an outright lie, and it actually didn't do that bad in Japan. But maybe I'm misremembering. What I do know is he was particularly clinging to PS5 sales, I believe, and when people community noted him, he called everyone retards and said that they were misreading what he was saying. It's like, dude, you're getting community noted, people are telling you you're fucking wrong, just take the L and move on. But he would crash out for a couple of weeks after Powered 1.0 came out, to the point that he started just, blocking everybody. He couldn't take the heat, so he got the fuck out the kitchen. Blocked every motherfucker saying anything even remotely negative or disparaging towards his insanely retarded takes on Palworld. And then you got Harmon Smith. I did a fun video on him showing his book career. We're not going to delve into that one here. But Harmon Smith in particular, he was pushing this narrative. Average Gamer was also trying to perpetuate this narrative too. But he was the biggest pusher of this narrative. Specifically two narratives, actually, that contradict each other. Harmon Smith simultaneously tried to push, first, a narrative that Palworld was never successful. That even on the onset of Palworld's early access release, it was a flop. All of its sales are fake. All of its fans are fake. We're all just Nintendo-hating shills that want to stick it to Pokemon and Nintendo. Where we're all trying to prop the game up. We don't actually care about its lore, its visuals, its gameplay, its pals, its mechanics. We don't care about any of that shit. We're all fake. We are not real fans. Real fans don't fucking exist. Literally denying reality. You know what reality is? And this is something I've been really enjoying digging into statistics on video games ever since I talked about that shit. Relooted, Luna Abyss or whatever back in that previous vlog. You know what it is real? The fact that this game sold like 30 million copies, and they tried to, and people tried, and this loud minority, this loud trio of people tried to say that's all fake. When the majority of these copies came, of these sales came from their 2 years in early access, and maybe 1 or so million of those sales came post 1.0. This game, a week after its early access release, got 2 million and change player peak. And got a 2 million change player peak. And here's where I'm also going to say something that I've learned over doing some of this research. You will almost never find a game that doesn't follow this formula. It releases, on Steam at least, it immediately hits its all-time player peak, and then it dwindles. And it never hits that number again. Now, I thought Power would be one of the rare exceptions that do hit that number again and surpass it when 1.0 came out. I was wrong. I'll take that L. But I also simultaneously consider it a win because Point me to another game, because 1.0 comes out and it gets I think around 1.1 million player peak post 1.0. Point me to another game that's in early access for 1, 2, or 3 years, and then and when it finally releases in 1.0, gets half of the player base back. Player base, not sorry, player peak gets half that player peak back. Now, there's surely a few of them on Steam, but I doubt you could find me very many of those. That is a fucking roaring success story if I ever heard one. And then about a week or two after 1.0 comes out, it dips to 800k. About a week or two after that, it dips to 700k. It's dwindling because Palworld is a game that, like other games I play, for players like me who love playing forever games where you can just continuously do more and more, literally by a certain point in pre 1.0 early access, I was just seeing number go up for the amount of ore I was getting from my ore mining pits, the amount of resources I was getting from my crop farms. It felt like the end game of Stardew Valley for me, just seeing number go up and being happy about it. While I optimize my pals at the breeding farm with specific passes that I want them to have, and yada yada yada. A lot of gamers aren't like me, though. A lot of them play the game, beat the game, move on to another game. Hell, I actually stalled playing this game, Thief Simulator, when 1.0 came out, to experience 1.0. Today is August 5th, as of about 2 or 3 days ago at least, I think. I got a little bit fatigued, nonstop playing Power in my spare time, and finally put it down. I was like, I'm gonna play some Thief Simulator. I've been doing the Luxury Houses DLC, and it's really fucking fun. Power is a game like any other. It's a massively successful game. It's a really fun game. But it's a game that most players eventually beat and move on from like any other video game. That is not a special thing. That's universal constant when it comes to video games. But Harmon Smith and the other two of this loud trio of minorities were basically trying to insist that it's 100k dip in player count. Oh man, Power is going to shit. It's doing horribly. See, Harmon Smith's big narratives that he pushed, the two narratives, were simultaneously that Power never had success, but also presently at least, as of post 1.0 launch, that its success is waning rapidly and it's falling off, which means you have to admit that it was a successful game then if its success is waning. This is where people like Harmon Smith just get flustered and go, no, you don't get it. It's all propped up bullshit. It's all fake. But now even the fake propped up hype is dying. It's like, you live in a fantasy in your own head. It doesn't help that this dude literally made an AI video of an angry white dude screaming about how amazing Palworld is, only for a sharp-dressed, handsome Japanese man to say, actually, Pocket Pair lost a lawsuit, so Palworld is shutting down. Never mind the fact that you'd be fucking retarded to actually say something like that, unironically, when the correct thing to say would be something more along the lines of, it would be delisted from Steam, but players can still make their own multiplayer servers and host them, and still access the game if they bought it. At worst, it would get delisted from Steam, not deleted from fucking existence like you think it would. Never mind the fact that this is all retarded as hell in the first place, and this is not what would happen if they won the lawsuit, if Nintendo won the lawsuit. And this is also ignoring the fact that Nintendo is losing in the lawsuit because the Patent Office of Japan is throwing out patents they're trying to make left and right over being too vague and broad stroke when it comes to game mechanics. And one thing I really love is how these people are like, "Oh, you pal shitters, you can't keep Pokemon out of your mouths." Yeah, the Pokemon fans can't keep Palworld out of their fucking mouths. Average Gamer and Baztec and Harmon Smith did nothing for weeks after the 1.0 came out, but crash out about this game. It's fucking insane. Here's the kicker. Here's how you know I don't use Twitter often. I don't like blocking people usually. I don't like silencing the voices of other people. Because I think everyone deserves a voice when it comes to discourse, in person or online. But here's something. I was thinking there's got to be something I can do to, I don't want to see these constantly shitting on my timeline, because it was constant. Every time I refresh Twitter, a new post by Harmon Smith, a new post by Average Gamer, or a new or a repost by them, because they were digging, looking for every single negative fucking thing people were saying about Palworld. All those little one or two off posters that make one or two comments and then fuck off and go continue living their lives as is standard fare. They were looking for every single instance of that to repost, to try and again create this narrative, paint this narrative that there actually is this big fucking anti-Palworld hate. Which there is, it's just not as dense as they want to make you believe it is. It's really just this insanely loud minority trying to amplify and prop everything they can up to brigade against the game. But I found out recently there's this neat little feature you can do where you click on a post and you go, okay, I don't want to see these posts in my timeline anymore. Now, I don't know if it means posts like that, but per Twitter algorithm bullshit, magic Twitter algorithm bullshit, or if it means posts from this specific person. But here's the interesting thing. If it means posts from that specific person, I only did that for Average Gamer N, and I immediately saw 95% of the anti-Palworld bullshit vanish from my feed. Because it was all him propping it up. It was all him reposting it. It's a loud minority consisting of 3 people that are doing everything they can, spending days, weeks, being chronically online to try and push this narrative that it's more than just the 3 of them that are obsessively bitching about it, when no, it really is just the 3 of them. And going back to that thing I said earlier about, Kiwi Farms page, I found out Harmon Smith had one that had a lot of publicly accessible stuff on it, including Harmon Smith's own videos, which are still up on his YouTube channel. One of these was fascinating to me, because I've never seen a Nintendo unlike Harmon Smith. There's a video. It's archived on the Kiwi Farms thread, thankfully. But it's archived, but it's still on his YouTube. I believe it's still on his YouTube. There's the direct link to the YouTube video on his thread on Kiwi Farms. There's a video of Harmon Smith from before the Switch 2 came out, literally trying to say that we don't need a new Switch console, a new, more powerful Switch console. The Switch is fine as it is, and even claiming the Switch is going to eventually outsell the PS2. This actually made me go look up the Wikipedia article on the highest selling consoles of all time. The Switch did do really well. It's second place after the PS2. It never beat the PS2. The Switch won, mind you. The Switch 2, I think, was down into double digits place, which was crazy. But understandable because, how long has it been out now? Only a few years by now. And the Switch 1 had an insanely long lifespan, mind you. So it had a lot of time to get more sales. Point being, he was saying a lot of funny shit in this video, but in particular, the Pretendos, what he calls fake Nintendo fans who try to claim they are Nintendo fans. In particular, he basically insisted that if you wanted a new, that all these Pretendos want a new Switch console. Like, dude, what? Huh? So basically, if you wanted, back before the Switch 2 release, if you wanted a new, more powerful Switch console, you were a fake Nintendo fan. Here's the fun thing. This is something I saw specifically Average Gamer N bitching about. He tried to, they tried to make it a point that if you, they tried to make it a point that if you, a lot of these haters are getting exposed. Because if you looked back when the Switch was being when people were showcasing shit running horribly on the Switch in YouTube videos, that's because they were emulating the Switch and purposefully throttling it and making it look bad on purpose for the video. But now that the Switch 2 is out, it's harder to emulate. In fact, I don't even know if there's emulation yet at all for it. It's hard. You can't emulate it, so we've suddenly seen a drop off in people showing the Switch 2 having poor gameplay. It's like, that's the most retarded thing you can say, because I've literally piled into voice chat with friends to watch like E3 and other gaming expo things and game reveal shows, and they reveal new ports and even whole new games for the Switch, and they're literally showing the gameplay off live to the or record it live, or recordings of the gameplay to the player. Not player, to the viewers, and we would all be in there laughing our asses. So like, look at that fucking frame rate. Look at how bad that looks. Look at how shit that is. That gameplay looks because of how the frame rate is. Oh my god, you're gonna tell me that was all emulation too? From the fucking game reveal shows, from Nintendo's own video game showcases and reveals? What was Nintendo running emulators too? To personally make their games look bad? Like, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. You're fucking retarded when you try to make these arguments, because there's actual proof that what you're saying isn't real. And that what you're arguing isn't real is. This goes back to the whole online discourse thing vlog I made before. You can't have discourse with these people because they live in a fantasy world. They live in a fantasy world, whether they're genuine grifters or not. They live in a fucking fantasy where they don't want to just admit that other good games besides Nintendo exist. And I'm going to be real with you right now. I just want to reiterate something I've said before at least a few times. I haven't supported the AAA industry in a decade. My PSP I got to make into a budget multi-platform emulation machine a la the Steam Deck before the Steam Deck existed. I got that from a mom and pop electric store. My new 3DS XL is what it's specifically called. I found that laying literally on top of, like, very, very non-discreetly on top of a pile of trash that I walked by. So I picked it up and was like, oh, let's see if it works, and it fucking did. I just had to buy memory SD card, an SD card for it. I had to remember the fucking term. My PS3, my sister was going to throw hers out because she didn't use it and it was a fucking paperweight for her. So I was like, nah, give it to me, and I put custom firmware on it. A 360, admittedly, that I haven't even tested yet, and just by having it for about 5 or so years, for several years now. I got that from a relative as a Christmas gift, or a birthday gift or something, along with a copy of a couple exclusive games I mentioned I wanted to play on. My Steam Deck was a gift from 4 friends who chipped together evenly to pay for it because they all had Steam Decks and they wanted me to have one too. Otherwise, I wasn't even planning to buy a Steam Deck. I was happy with my gaming, with the rig I spent money building. The only way you could say I spent money on the AAA gaming industry is if you even count that, and I wouldn't, because I use this computer for way more than just gaming. I use it for fucking everything. I fucking hate the big three. I am not just a Nintendo hater. I'm a generational hater. Fuck, the PS3 has no games. The Xbox 360 had no games. You know what you had in the 360? And I'm going all the way back to 360. But you know what we had in the 360? If you gave a shit about Fable, there was Fable 2. If you gave a shit about Ace Combat, there was Ace Combat 6. If you gave a shit about Saints Row, there was Saints Row 1. If you wanted a cool action game thing, there was Crackdown. If you gave a shit about the Magna Carta series, the final console game in the Magna Carta series was exclusive to the 360. If you wanted some good RPG stuff, there was Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, Infinite Undiscovery, and there might be a few other things that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head, and that's fucking it. Meanwhile, for its time, before any of this shit came to PC or got ported or anything on the PS3, you had Yakuza games, you had Ratchet Clank, you had Armored Core, I think there was some Spyro in there, you had the Resistance trilogy, the Uncharted trilogy, God of War 3, Infamous 1 and 2. You had so much more shit on the PS3 than on the 360. And the 360 was a piece of garbage. I loved the OG Xbox. Fuck the 360. I went through several of those. Red Ring of Death, motherboard died, GPU died, disc tray problems. I was fucking fed up several 360 consoles in, and I just went ahead and sold off my entire game collection in 360 and controllers to a pawn shop for gas money because I was sick of it. I played what I wanted to play at the time on it. And then moving forward, that even less in future consoles. Microsoft moved away from exclusivity. Now, because, hey, guess what? Microsoft and Sony, in case you fucking forgot, were never video game companies to begin with. They were tech companies. They were tech companies. That's one thing I'll give Nintendo. Nintendo has always been a game company because back in Nintendo's heyday, before we even had fucking electronics, they were making and selling Hanafuda cards. Nintendo has its, at least that's if I remember correctly, Nintendo has its roots in gaming. That's something that's a hard fact. Microsoft and Sony, they're fucking tech companies at heart. They got into multimedia tech companies now. They just dipped their toes into gaming. And they did really fucking, and Sony did really fucking well for a time. They really did. I still consider the PS1 and 2 the golden eras of console exclusive gaming, at least in my opinion. But my point is, fuck modern Sony, shutting down their Japanese branch, moving to California, shitting everything up. Shitting fucking everything up. Oh, you can't have sexy women in your games now. We're gonna censor it. I think Senran Kagura was a great example of that, where they literally wanted to either tone down or remove the clothing damage system, and to do that because it was hard coded deep into the game's code, the creator of the game would basically have to make a second entire version of the game from the ground up, and he didn't want to deal with that headache, so he's like, no, fuck you, and just didn't release it on Sony consoles. I think I have that story right. I hope I do, or I'm just spouting a lot of nonsensical bullshit. One thing I do remember right is, however little and minor it was, Stellar Blade needed some censorship to get past Sony's authorization to be on the PS5. And I was saying this when Stellar Blade first came out, the fucking their biggest success was Project Victory, Goddess of Victory Nikke. And that was on phones and in the PC. They know where their money is. Sure enough, Stellar Blade comes to PC on Steam. And then they decide now we're separating from Sony because they were hampering our creative freedom and we didn't get to make exactly the version of Stellar Blade we wanted to make. So now we're just going to break off from Sony and we're going to make the exact version of Stellar Blade BloodRayne we want to make. And people were bitching at them on social media, I saw, about that bullshit, saying like, "Oh, you wouldn't be anything without Sony. Oh, now that Sony's propped you up, you're gonna be ungrateful and fuck off." No, they were successful before Sony. They didn't need Sony, and they don't need them now, and they know this, and they're literally exercising the fact that they don't need Sony to go on their own and work on the game they want to make. But for all of Sony's bullshit, at least I can give them this. They don't, to my knowledge at least, they don't have a fucking internal mandate on how to design your women in video games like Microsoft does. Which is one of the most retarded things I think I've ever had to say. Microsoft literally had a leaked internal mandate about how to, leaked or posted officially, publicly, and they just didn't care. I don't know. I don't fucking care. They had a fucking internal mandate revealed to the public about how they want their females designing games. Yeah, they want them to be dykes. They want them to be ugly men with tits. Because they don't want anything too sexualized. Meanwhile, you're allowed to have Leon Kennedy in a six-pack all you want. Because all the female gooners get what they want. And the only thing I'm forgetting about Nintendo, fuck Nintendo for its practices. My entire beef with Nintendo about Pokemon in particular is because I kept having to get newer and newer systems to play the next Pokemon game. I'll say it right now. I emulated Black. I emulated Diamond. Why? Because I didn't have the financial ability to get a fucking DS. I started on a fucking Game Boy Color, then a Game Boy Advance, then a Game Boy Advance SP. Then finally, when it came time for the DS games, I didn't even have a DS. I couldn't afford one as a kid. All my family's money was going towards bills. We were going month to month. So I emulate that shit, and just to experience what these new Pokemon games are going like, and I thought they were cool. And it's like, oh, I don't got the money for a Switch. For a Switch and then a 3DS or whatever. I can't. All these new Pokemon games requiring the new different platforms instead of coming to PC. Why? Because Nintendo wants to keep all of it strictly on their fucking platforms. That's the thing I always found interesting is that if I had to say if I had to point to any of the big three and say which is the most obsessive about keeping their games on their platforms, it's fucking Nintendo. They don't want you to be a PC gamer that plays their games. They want you to be a Nintendo gamer. that buys every new console they put out and every new first party game they put out. Here's something completely random that I want to bring up. But when all that Power discourse was fucking happening, there was a one-off tweet I saw of somebody trying to talk up the Switch 2 and say it's got all these first party games, it's got all these options. The Switch 2 has so much variety, and I straight up told him, dude, I'm gonna tell you a truth. I'm gonna tell you a quick truth of a trend I've seen in my friend with my entire friend group. Um, we all seem to be PC players first and foremost. I even brought a friend of mine up who he's good at handling his money. He saves a lot of money up. He tends to have the money to get what he wants. That dude bought a PS5 when it came out just to play Stellar Blade, just to play fuck, what was that? What was that other thing? The one that the game that's like hyper nostalgic for people that loved a lot of games on PlayStation consoles. I can't remember what it was called though. He got a PS5 just to play a couple exclusives, and then it started gathering dust. The Switch 2, same thing. This friend of mine, he's been a Donkey Kong Country 2 stan, if I remember right, for his entire life. He's always said that's the best Donkey Kong game ever made by Nintendo. And he rescinded that. He bowed out and was like, I gotta give it. Bonanza is now dethroned it. It is by far the best Donkey Kong game that Nintendo's ever made. He got a Switch 2 just to play Bonanza and like one other game. And I asked him about the other stuff. He's like, oh, I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care about the latest Mario Kart. Latest Mario Kart's just more Mario Kart. Who fucking cares? I just want to try this Donkey Kong game and this other thing. And then when he was done with that shit, the Switch 2 went right alongside the PS5 on the shelf to collect dust. That's the thing I noticed is that among myself and my friends, we only use these consoles, whether it's the actual physical consoles or for some of us emulating them, to play the games that are stuck on those consoles. Whether they're exclusives, first party, whatever the fuck. And then when we're done with that, we go right back to playing most of our shit on PC. We are all PC gamers first and foremost. So yes, fuck Nintendo for basically deciding we're just going to keep all our shit on our own proprietary consoles and not allow people that don't want to buy every new console release to play our games. Then I'm not going to pay for your games. Simple as. Shit, my Steam Deck collects dust because I have my PC right here. The only reason I would want to play on the Steam Deck is I felt like it. And I do want to actually show some love to the thing that my friends bought me as a really expensive Christmas gift and actually make a lot of use of it. But, point simply, like, what we don't use actively collects dust. Gotta dust it off from time to time and occasionally put it to use. Get our enjoyment out of it. But first and foremost, a lot of people, I don't think this is just something specific to my friends and I think this is a lot of people, are PC gamers before anything else. So yes, I have my gripes with all of the big three. Fuck all of them for various reasons. Everything I've said in this video and then some that I might not be remembering off the top of my head right now. Oh no, actually, I almost forgot about something. Yeah, Bethesda, you absolute chuckle fucks. Microsoft seemed to actually be doing something good, I think. I think I read something about, oh, they're cracking down on Bethesda because Bethesda hasn't released any fucking games. Our last Fallout game, not counting 76, was Fallout 4. Our last Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim on every existing console on the fucking planet. Then Special Edition, then Anniversary Edition. You know what Skyrim's good for? I got a list behind me that I've been working on of my top 100 favorite games of all time. I haven't even gotten to 30 because well, one, I'm not trying to fill it out with the whole 100 out. I'm leaving a lot of blank space and only putting the games I really, really consider my all-time favorites in there. Has to pass a pretty fucking strict test too. It's got to be a game that I enjoy on its own. Therefore, Terraria can make it in, but Starbound, nah. I've never been able to play Starbound and enjoy it without fracking Universe installed and a bunch of other stuff installed. But Terraria, I think that makes it into my top 100 favorite games because I can play it because I actually have personal experiences spending literally like a year on and off playing it vanilla and having fun with it. So that right there fails Skyrim right there. Skyrim, fuck vanilla Skyrim. No, whenever I play Skyrim, and I haven't in years now, I install Special Edition, and I install all kinds of mods. I install a mod that combines several entire perk tree mods that completely changes how the game plays. I install a combat overhaul mod. I install a few cool things to do with that aren't too script heavy. A follower framework mod. I install a bunch of cool quest stuff like the Here There Be Monsters mods, Vikings mods, Legacy of the Dragonborn as one of like the staples of my shit. I love having cloaks with physics, so I put in cloaks of Skyrim. I love what is it again? Obis, Organized Bands in Skyrim, because it has all this really cool shit you can steal from them, and all this really cool extra equipment you can get off of the random bandit spawns. And then I start adding in the Gooner shit like Books and Winchuriana and all the other derivative stuff that offshoots from that by Kaz and people who are fans of Kaz's mods. Yeah, I fucking mod my game until it is sometimes until it's barely recognizable from vanilla Skyrim. Fuck you! I want to conquer the Great Tomb of Nazarick and become its new overlord and become a god on Earth, on Nirn at least, and have my power fantasy. Fuck you. But that means this is never going to make it in my top 100 games. As much as I love that shit, it's all modded. It doesn't hold up on its own merits. Bethesda has not released a proper fucking game in a long fucking time. And again, I don't count 76. I don't count a live service game. Long fucking time, and now they're being and they're being and from what I've been reading, they're apparently being cracked down on a bit by Microsoft. Hey, chuckle fucks, what are we paying you for? It's been 8 years since you announced Elder Scrolls 6. Where the fuck's the game? Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I might be misremembering. Doesn't Bethesda actually have the Doom rights now? Like it's not it's Bethesda, so like you can give them like Doom Eternal and Doom the Dark Ages or some bullshit. But even then, like, how long did we wait between those two games? How long did we wait between Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal? Like, this isn't just a Bethesda thing. This isn't across the board in the AAA industry thing. I'm noticing we're seeing games take way too long to develop now and becoming really expensive. Meanwhile, Nintendo just shits out a half-assed Pokemon game every 1 or 2 years and calls it a day. Then you have Game Freak actually making, what was it, Beast of Reincarnation, an actual cool-looking video game that looks nothing like the slop they output with Pokemon. And it's like, oh man, this actually looks really cool. And a friend of mine that has worked in game retail for a long time now, and in his life, chimes in over VC like, oh no, yeah, this is what Game Freak is capable of when they're not fucking around. When they're not being limited by Nintendo. That's the craziest fucking thing to me. There are people that will unironically dick ride Nintendo, but then you have actual proof now that basically Nintendo limits Game Freak. Nintendo limits the studio because they just want them to keep shitting out games that they know people are going to buy, even if they're slop, even if they're half-assed, even if they're full of bugs and glitches. Because there are people that have been like me, have been Pokemon fans for 20, 30 years now, and they're balding old fucks who just can't let go. I mean, you know what the last Pokemon game I played, I think I mentioned this before, Both of them are ROM hacks. Pokemon Clover, a great fan game, and Pokemon Blaze Black 2, a ROM hack of Black 2 where you can actually catch them all. Up to that generation, at least. And I played the shit out of that for a while, and I had a lot of fun with it. Oh, yeah, give me this 1% chance of finding the first in an evolutionary chain of what would basically be an end game Pokemon if raised right. Give me that 1% chance in this early game area. I'll be here for 3 fucking hours trying to get that Pokemon. You're damn right I will. That's the last shit I played in Pokemon. Not even anything officially released by Nintendo. It's so fucking crazy to me. The mental gymnastics these people will go through to eat this slop. But back to the other end of the spectrum, yeah, AAA games taking fucking a decade to make one game now, and the quality isn't even that amazing proportionally to the time you spend on it. Like, come on. We don't want hyper-realistic graphics. You know why I'm okay with Palworld's graphics? You know why I'm so fucking okay with Palworld's graphics? Because Palworld doesn't have to be graphically amazing. It just has to be fun. You know what's fucking amazing to me? And this goes back all the way to like very much earlier in this vlog entry, where I was talking about how even Palworld's fucking lead developers don't consider it a Pokemon killer, let alone most of the fans. There was this thing I saw on Twitter recently where I think someone was trying to say that there was going to be this new Temtem thing that was going to be a rival to Palworld. And the big dog from Palworld, Bucky himself, responds, I don't think it's a rival at all. I just think it's a fun game. It looks like a fun game, and I want everyone to experience more fun games. And then the people behind Temtem are like, yeah, we don't consider Palworld our rivals at all. We just want to make a fun game. You know, I even made responses like, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. That's the kind of shit I like. It's not a fucking competition. Just make fun games. I'm fine with Palworld's graphics not looking particularly amazing because Palworld's PAL designs still look fucking great. The world at least looks pretty fun and interesting to explore to some degree or another, even if I have gripes about it. The game's fine looking. And then you want to, but then people that want to shit on it from the great heights of Pokemon's like peak stardom want to be like, oh man, Pokemon's so superior, Pokemon's so good. No, your game looks just as bad in my opinion. Your new 3D Pokemon games look just as fucking mid in some area, you know, as Palworld does in some areas. Like they might as well they might as well look the same graphically to me. I don't fucking care. You wanna talk about that bullshit? No, get out of here. You acting like your game is so graphics. Your game's just, if Palworld's graphics are mid, your game is just as mid because it looks very. Your latest 3D Pokemon games look very fucking similar graphically to me. Call me blind as fuck. I don't care. I'm sticking by that. It's so fucking unreal. Anyway, back to the Bethesda thing, because I'm not done with Bethesda. Fuck Bethesda. We haven't had a proper fucking Elder Scrolls or Fallout in a long fucking time. And this is an opinion. This is an old ass opinion. This is an opinion I had 5 or more years ago. When Elder Scrolls 6 finally does come out, so many people that loved Skyrim, whether the vanilla game or whether they modded the shit, they came to love modding the shit out of their game like I did, are gonna so many of them. I'm willing. I know I took an L on claiming Palworld was gonna surpass its early access peak in post 1.0. I'll risk taking another L here. This is an opinion I've had for years now. When ES6 comes out, if it even ever fucking does, because all this bullshit with Bethesda doing like they've been doing this really retarded strike. They've been doing like a strike, holding up signs like players love us, love the games we make. You haven't made a fucking game in almost a decade. That wasn't a fucking live service Fallout game. You haven't made a mainline Elder Scrolls or Fallout game in a decade. Fucking get on that shit. Fuck off, we players like what you make. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate what you've become. And it's rare for me to fucking hate anything. But opinion I've had for years now, I guarantee you, when and if BS6 ever fucking comes out, so many people aren't going to give a shit. So many people that loved Skyrim, either vanilla or modded, aren't going to give a shit. And it's not going to get... And actually, I remember now, the main opinion I had, it wasn't just that, it was specifically this. I had to pull it from the desk of mine. Elder Scrolls 6 is never going to do the numbers Skyrim did. Elder Scrolls 6 is never going to be as popular as Skyrim is. As Skyrim was, as it still is to some people in the modding scene, to a lot of people in the modding scene. It's never going to get that popular. Ever. I'm willing to stand by that, and if I'm ever wrong, I will fucking take that L. But that's an opinion I've had for years now. Bethesda pulling this, oh man, we just want to make great games for players to make fucking video games. Stop pissing around to the point that apparently, from what I've read, your parent company has to crack down on you and be mom and dad to you and tell you to get off your lazy ass and do it. Make the fucking game. No, now they're outside talking about making games. And I want to strangle them for it. So yes, I'm a generational hater at this point. I fucking despise the big three in various ways. I like a lot of the cool shit that they're doing. You can hate somebody, but still point to them and be like, I fucking hate that person's guts, but they got a point. You can do that. That's something you can do. It's a very human thing. And I can do that to these corporations. Like, yeah, they're doing this one or two really cool things. But fuck them for all this other shit they're doing. Not to mention, these are the parent companies. A lot of what I tend to praise is the individual studios. In this case, I fucking hate Sony, but I fucking love Pocket Pair. And they're partnered with Sony. I can do both. You can do both. It was like, what was it again? It's, a lot of that loud trio I was bitching about earlier, one of the big things they were pushing is that anyone that's against Nintendo is a fucking hater and you're not an actual Powered fan. And I got a newsflash for you. I can hate Nintendo's fucking guts and love Pocket Pair to hell and back and love Power World to hell and back. I can do both. You can do both. It's a very human thing to do. I can love Pocket Pair and hate Nintendo. I can love Pocket Pair and hate Sony. And I do. But I guess that's about it. I don't know what else to yell about now. I'm getting a bit thirsty. I gotta go take a piss. I want to actually play the video game, and I tried doing this while playing the video game, and I couldn't. That's why I had to redo. This is like my third take on this shit. When I just had to sit my guy's ass down in front of this and this nice little set piece I made here, so I could focus all my thoughts on actually formulating my thoughts verbally. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Fake video game stuff will come next month. Come hell or high water, it's going to.